Hi, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Shireen, and today I'm going to be doing a full face review of Glossier! Yay! Yay! This is not going to be a positive review. I've been toying with the idea of doing this review for about 6 months now, and I always decided against it for a couple of reasons. Reason number one was that Glossier is a brand that advertises really aggressively, and I don't like aggressive advertising in general, and I didn't like their advertising personally because I think that they were trying to appeal to a different kind of person than me. I think they were trying to appeal to primarily women who like very kind of effortless, no makeup, which is not something that I identify with. Reason number two is that I'd already watched a bunch of reviews on YouTube about Glossier products, and I was not impressed with their performance, so I didn't really see a reason for myself to try them. And then I realized that Glossier is actually a very sort of hyped up or talked about brand in my community. And so I wanted to have tried the products so that I could give better recommendations to the people around me and to also throw some credibility behind my vague dislike of the brand, because it doesn't mean anything if I don't like it having not tried it. So I want to have tried it. The order took about a week to arrive, which I think is totally reasonable. And the products, oh my god, were in their own little unit cartons, and the unit cartons were in this kind of packaging, which is like bubble wrapped, and it's really nice. So I like how everything arrived in terms of shipment. I got a lot of stuff, a full face worth of stuff, plus the Glossier You perfume. The format that I'm going to be doing today is a little different from what I normally do. I'm going to be using the Glossier products on half of my face, so the full face worth of products that I have. Of course, the line doesn't carry certain things, like I didn't see a bronzer and I didn't see a brow pencil, so those are not things that I'm going to be able to use. And then on the other half of my face, I'm going to be using products that I personally like and recommend that I think are sort of comparable to the Glossier products, so that you can see how the two sides compare. So hopefully that'll be the most kind of helpful and informative way of handling this, so you can really see what the products are like relative to other things on the market. Cool. First, let's get this out of the way. I got the Glossier You perfume. This cost $60, which is, I think, a statement from Glossier in terms of where they think they stand relative to other brands, because $60, while for this amount of product, is definitely not the most expensive perfume that you could buy, but it's, for this amount of product, on par with luxury pricing. If you read the description on the website, it says something like Glossier You. Mainly, it smells like you, which is brilliant marketing, in my opinion. It smells, to me it smells like floral cinnamon, which is not what people smell like necessarily. So I think that they chose to describe it in that way because it's appealing. Who doesn't want a perfume that just smells like them? Assuming that they think that they smell good. So yeah. The notes don't actually, I think, include anything floral or cinnamon, but when I smell it, that's what I smell. But yeah, I don't know, the smell's nice. I think it's pretty expensive, but whatever. And perfume doesn't really seem to last on my skin, so I can't really speak about wear, and also I don't know that much about perfume. Moving on. The next item is this guy. This is not a foundation. And they don't call it a foundation. So they call it a perfecting skin tint. And this costs $26. And skin tint is, I think, a fair descriptor of what it is. Let me show you. So I have some scarring and pigmentation on both sides of my face. And I'm going to put some of this on. So you can see that it did nothing to cover any of the blemishes on this side of my face. I don't know if it's showing up on camera yet, but I can't really see the tint quite yet. If I were to add more, I'd be able to. Okay, hopefully you can start to see the tint showing up a little bit more. So what I mean when I say that I think it is aptly named, minus the word perfecting, I don't think that it does anything to perfect my skin in terms of reducing pores or fine lines or certainly erasing blemishes. It doesn't do anything like that, but it is a skin tint. So it does carry kind of like a sheer, yeah, I think you can start to see the yellow, kind of a sheer tint with it that covers your skin. So let's look at the shade range for this really briefly. So this product comes in 5 shades. These are the 5 shades. I picked this one, which is the shade medium. And as you can tell, this is definitely the closest to my actual skin tone. And yet still, I don't think that it matches my skin tone particularly well, especially once I start to build it up. And for a company that seems to pride itself on being diverse and supporting diversity, I don't know what this is. I don't understand the purpose of this product. Like, it is a skin tint insofar as that it has some tint to it if you apply enough of it and if you build it up sufficiently. But it doesn't have any coverage, and I don't think it does much perfecting, and the shade range is small. So, like, it just slightly changes your skin tone, and it costs $26. And I don't know why that's something that anyone would ever want to do. So I don't really recommend this. Cool. Next we have the Glossier Stretch Concealer. This one costs $18 and I got it in the shade medium. So there you go. I tried this out a couple of different ways, and the way that I got the most coverage was by dipping my beauty blender directly into it. I felt that this worked better than using my fingers, even though I know that Glossier is sort of marketed as a fingers only, no tools needed kind of thing. And you can see that it does give me some coverage. I think for a concealer, I consider this to be medium coverage, not full coverage, because you can still see some of the darkness peeking out from underneath. If you like a potted concealer, this is not a terrible one, and it's also not a particularly badly priced one. The texture of it kind of reminds me of the NARS one in that it's a little greasy. I don't personally like potted concealers. I would much rather use one that comes in this kind of packaging, like it's a liquid concealer, essentially. I think that this kind of thing is just a little harder to use, a little less hygienic, just not my preferred kind of concealer. And then I'm trying to use it to get myself some coverage in those areas that the skin tint did nothing, and it gives me a little, not as, like, you can still see everything, and that's kind of like the vibe with Glossier, is that it doesn't really give you that much coverage no matter what you really do with it. So do I recommend this? Not really. I think if you really like concealer in this kind of packaging, like this kind of potted concealer, and you're kind of familiar with the finish of a product like this and the application process of a product like this, and you still really like it, this is like fine. In terms of like high-end pricing, it's a little cheaper than a lot of high-end potted concealers. I don't think it's particularly good. I don't think it's like a tragedy of a product either, but I wouldn't recommend it. Next we have the Wowder. This is in the shade light medium, and it comes with this little sifter. So I'm just going to set that concealer with that. The concealer has a little bit more of a dewy finish as well, so I do think setting it is necessary so that it doesn't shift around too much. I don't have a lot of feelings about powders in general. This one is $22, which is not the cheapest powder on the market. Like the RCMA No Color powder is one that I like, and that one's $10 and you get way more product than this. You also of course get worse packaging than this. I also often use the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder, which is, I believe, more expensive than this by a bit. But like, I think it's fine. I like the finish of it. I'm not too picky with powders in general, especially because I tend not to use them all over my face. This is an okay product. I think if you really want to buy something from Glossier, the Wowder is a good way to go. Again, I don't think it's phenomenal or substantially better than other powders that I've tried, but I also don't really have any complaints about it. Next, let's do the lid stars. So I got these as a duo, and they cost $30 as a duo and $18 individually, so you save $3 per lid star if you buy them as a duo. And I got the shade Fawn, and Moon is the one that I'm swiping now. So hopefully you can tell from the swatches, but Fawn is definitely more opaque than Moon. There's a total of 6 shades that you can pick from. And with these, they swatch, decent. It's just that once you start to blend them out, you lose that base color, and what you're left with is a sort of like vague glitter, which I don't really understand why that's a thing that you would want. Okay, so I have some on my eye, and then in the advertisements, the girl would apply it like this and then use her finger to sort of like blend it out. And it just sort of blends away, which one of the reasons that I've heard for people liking Glossier is that they say that it's easy to use. And so far the products that I've used, like the foundation, the concealer, and the powder, aren't easier to use than other brands' products. It's the same application process. So I think they mean things like this. And this is harder to mess up than traditional eyeshadows, but only because it carries so little pigmentation that once you start to try to manipulate it, it disappears. So it is harder to mess up for that reason. Like I have like a faint shimmer on my eye, and I think that like any drugstore shadow, like powder shadow, will do that for you. And it's so much cheaper than these. So now let me put Moon. Where is it? Now I'm going to put Moon on my inner corner and kind of on my brow bone, so you can see how that one does as well. But I just think for the price that these are, see, when I don't blend it out, like, it's visible. For the price that these are, I think you're better off buying like a decent drugstore palette and drugstore priced brushes from a brand like Wet n Wild or BH Cosmetics and just spending a little bit of time learning how to use them than doing something like this. Like that would cost you about the same, and I think it would get you much better results for your money. Next, I'm gonna do, let's do the cloud paints. So I got 3 of these. Here we go. I got 2 of them as a duo and 1 of them separately. Let me swatch them on my arm for you. So the first shade is Beam. This one looks super scary and like bright when you initially put it on, but it's not that bad once you blend it out, which I will do in a moment. Next is Haze. These are individually, I believe, also $18, and as a duo, $30. So again, you're saving $3 per blush. And then lastly, we have Dusk. The complaint that I have about this shade in particular is that the color itself does not match the packaging. It looks much lighter on the packaging, and what it is actually a very kind of dark peachy brown. So now to blend these out, I'm going to just sort of press them out so you can see what they look like sheared out. This one I think keeps up its color. I don't know if you can tell, but I find that they blend out kind of patchy, which I don't love. It's the most egregious with this shade I found. And then this guy. Added a bit much. If I'd added less, you would have better been able to see that it's not so scary applied. But you can start to see it's not so bad once you have it on. So I've tried all of these products before, and I'm not going to use Haze on my face because I felt like it kind of just looked like a rash. So I'm not going to do that one. And then Dusk, I think, would be better suited for someone who has a darker skin tone than I do. It almost looks like a bronzer color on me. So I'm going to go with Beam and maybe add a little bit of Dusk based on how it performs. So already I feel like I can tell that it's blending out a bit patchy. Let's add some of Dusk on there. But like they show up, and you don't need to use an incredibly large amount to get them to show. I don't love cream or liquid blushes as much as I like powder blushes. So I have this kind of implicit bias in favor of powder blushes. The only liquid blushes that I came close to liking were the NARS ones, and I do think that these are easier to use than the NARS ones, and I believe a little bit more affordable, just because the NARS ones were rather pigmented, and so you have to get used to using them very sparingly in order to get the kind of result that you wanted. That said, I don't think that this is a good performing product. I think that it does apply a little bit patchy, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So again, if you really want to buy something from Glossier, sure. I don't super recommend them either, but as far as like cream blushes go, they are a little easier to use because they are less pigmented. Next, I'm going to talk about the Boy Brow. This guy, I believe, is $16, and I have the shade Black. I think it's like good that they have a brow gel, but I feel like if they were to pick one brow product, it should have been a brow pencil, because to me at least that's so much more useful than a brow gel. But I understand that they probably chose not to go with a brow pencil because the whole angle that they're going for is easy to apply makeup, and brow pencils are definitely harder to apply than brow gels. But I don't love brow gels because the front parts of my eyebrows are pretty sparse. There just aren't a lot of hairs to pick up on, and a brow gel can't really help with that, because if it just coats the existing hairs, then the existing hairs look a little bit thicker, but the brow itself doesn't really look fuller. If I was using the product on this brow, that would be more obvious than this brow because I've got a little bit more going on. I'm just going to start using it. So I wouldn't pick a brow routine that consists of just a brow gel. I would definitely pair a brow pencil with a brow gel. And I just use brow gels to keep my hairs in place. Sometimes they can fill in this area a little bit, but when I compare this brow gel to others, I think that it doesn't do a particularly good job of that either. So like, is it a terrible product? No. Is it a poorly priced product? For high-end brow gels, no. But I do think that it's an average to below average brow gel. So again, if you really want to buy something from Glossier, this is not a terrible one to get, but I don't think that it's like a particularly good product. Next, let's do the Lash Slick Mascara. This one is also $16. And I also like to look at mascara wands before I use them. So the bristles on this end are longer than on the kind of outer end, and that's because it lines up like this with your eye, and it's supposed to help create a little bit more of a cat eye look. It definitely does add length to my lashes. I don't think that it adds a particularly noticeable amount of volume. So I would primarily characterize this as a lengthening mascara. And for that, I think it's pretty good. When I wore it throughout the day before, I didn't notice any fallout or flaking or transferring or anything like that, which is nice because tons of mascaras do that. And at $16 for a full-size product, it's not bad. I tend to buy travel size mascaras anyway, which are for high-end more around the $12 to $13 mark. And I prefer travel size mascaras because I feel like the product dries out anyway as you kind of get towards the end of the life cycle. So I think I get the same amount of use from the travel size mascara as I do from the full size one. This is, I think, an okay product, and it's an okay priced product. Again, it doesn't like particularly stand out to me, like it's just a decent lengthening mascara, but it's not bad. So yeah, the Haliscope. This one is $22. I got it in the shade Quartz. I think that was the only shade that I noticed that, oh my god, would work for me. And this is just a giant stick. See how much product there is in it. That much product, which is not a lot of product. Especially because the kind of middle of it is this like clear balmy thing, and I'm not sure why they did that, but it's there. And this guy, let's swatch it. That's one swipe. It's basically not visible, but once I start to like really press in and build it up, you can start to see it and the shape that it has. So this one has a fairly like white, almost champagne thing going on, which isn't my favorite color, but it's also not terrible. And then I've tried applying this in a couple of ways. I've tried applying it with a brush, with my finger, and then using the stick right on my face. And the only way that I felt that I could see it is if I use the stick right on my face, which is not a thing that I like to do because it does pick up on the foundation, like the base, a little bit when I do that. and also it's not sanitary. And that's kind of why I don't prefer stick products in general. Like I would much rather just use a powder product or a cream product that I can tap on with my fingers and I don't have to like touch the thing itself. Let's put it on. Let me use it with my finger a little bit first so you can sort of see use the stick itself. And once I really have a ton of product on there, I think it becomes more visible. So hopefully you can see that on camera. When I look up close, it does look a little cakey given how much product I had to layer on, but not overly cakey. If I were someone who had texture in this area, luckily most of my texture is concentrated here so it doesn't show up with highlight, I think that it would really pick up on the texture and it would not be a great thing. But if you don't have a ton of texture on this product and you're okay building it up and you're okay with this kind of like stick situation as opposed to any other application format, then this is not bad. That said, I think that there are drugstore highlights that are better than this, that I think would be easier to use than this. Wet n Wild has some really good ones. Mary Lou by The Balm is one of my favorite highlighters of all time. That one is about $10 cheaper than this one. I don't think this is terrible, but I don't really recommend it. The last thing is the lip gloss. So this is just a clear, it has a slight pink tint, but like that doesn't really matter once you start to put it on. This is just a clear lip gloss and it costs $14. It's very sticky. Like, it's the kind of sticky where you feel like dust is just gonna settle on your lips and live there. So aside from it being very sticky, it's rather expensive for just a clear lip gloss. So for that reason, I do not recommend this. So now you can see what my full face, well, you can see what a full face worth of Glossier product looks like on half of my face compared to no makeup at all. Okay, now I'm going to do the rest of my face using products that I like. So, for foundation, I'm going to be using L'Oreal Pro Glow. This is the shade 208 Sun Beige. This is a drugstore foundation and it costs around $8, $8 to $10 depending on where you buy it. And it has a very dewy finish, which is, I think, kind of like the intended finish of the skin tint. So I'm just going to apply this on my face. So you can immediately see that this gives me way more coverage than the Glossier product did, including when I layered on the concealer and the foundation. And I consider this to be a medium coverage foundation. They also have a much bigger shade range, and this is just a far more affordable product than the Glossier product. So I would recommend using this, or honestly any number of other foundations or tinted moisturizers before I would recommend the Glossier one. As far as tinted moisturizers go, I tend not to use them, but I have tried out a lot, and of the ones that I've tried out, It Cosmetics is good formula-wise. They just didn't have a good shade match for me. Laura Mercier has one that I also really like. For concealer, I'm stuck on Shape Tape, so, you know, come at me. This is Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Medium. This is the fullest coverage concealer that I've ever used, and it also creases less than other kind of more comparable full coverage concealers that I've used, like the new Jouer one and the Too Faced Born This Way sculpting concealer. So just blending that out. And I'm really hoping that you can see the difference in coverage on camera. This is what I think a medium coverage concealer does, and this is what I think a full coverage concealer does. I don't know if you can see it, but my darkness is definitely more covered with the Tarte one. And in terms of like drugstore, Makeup Revolution has a really good concealer, and that's drugstore pricing if you want to check that out. Tarte Shape Tape is, I think, between $20 and $25, maybe a little more, but like that general $20-something ballpark. So then I'm going to set that with my Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. So then if my objective was to do very no makeup, wearable makeup kind of thing, this is not what I would do. But since what we did was like a shimmery kind of Since what we did was supposed to be a shimmery kind of thing, I'm going to use a product that's comparable to that, but know that that's not what I would normally do if I wanted no makeup. So first I'm just going to go into base matte shade. So I'm going to use Georgia from this Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, using a big fluffy brush. So these are the Stila Glitter and Glow eyeshadows. So kind of similar to the Lit Star duos, they come on like a paddle stick that you can apply directly to your eyelid, which makes it really easy. Okay, this is the shade Wonderlust. This one has a lot of different glitters in it. It has more of a clear base, so I wouldn't recommend using this on its own. This is the shade Rose Gold Retro, which is, I think, maybe the one I'm going to use today. So that one definitely has a way more opaque base. You can absolutely use this on its own. And then this is the shade Kitten Karma. Ooh, maybe I'll use Kitten Karma. So just really sparkly and beautiful. I'm going to use Kitten Karma because that's my favorite. And these are priced comparably to the Lid Stars, and I think are just a far, far better product and are about as easy to use as the Lid Stars. See the difference? I really think that these just speak for themselves. Well, okay, so Glossier also doesn't have a bronzer, which I think is a rather glaring omission, especially because bronzers are super easy to apply and I think makes such a big difference in terms of makeup's appearance. So that's a shame. I don't know if I should apply bronzer anyway. Screw it, I'm going to use a bronzer. I can't live without one. Okay, so for bronzer, I'm going to use my Becca one. So this is the shade Capri Coast from the line of Sunlit Bronzers. I'm just going to tap it on my brush. Tap, 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 tap. Wow. Wow. Warmth. Wow. I do acknowledge that even if you buy all these Glossier products, you could still buy a bronzer and use it with them. So I just wanted to use one. Moving on, next for blush, I'm going to be using Milani Luminoso. Largely because it is peachy tone, so it is similar to these ones, and also because it's a drugstore blush and is cheaper than the Cloud Paints. So this guy's, I think, $12, which for the drugstore is expensive, but compared to the Cloud Paints, it's not. I'm just going to put that on with a Morphe brush real quick. I just think that looks so much less patchy and cleaner and nicer than what I have going on here. What's next? Ooh, highlight. Let's do highlight. I'm going to use Mary Lou. This is my Mary Lou Luminizer. It is well loved, as you can tell. And boom. Ooh. Was that hard? No. Was that easy to build up? Yeah. Is this way cheaper than the Holoscope? Yeah. Look at that glow. Oh. Whew. And I'm also not like a blinding highlight kind of girl. Oh, you can just use it on your brush. Yeah. Like I like a more natural glowy kind of thing, which I think this gives me. And I think this gives it to me better than the Holoscope. Feel me? You feel me. Okay. Brow pencil. So I recently was recommended this Kevyn Aucoin brow pencil, and I think it's super good, especially for hair-like strokes. Gives you a really natural look, so I'm going to quickly do my brows with it. So I'm just filling it in where I have those sparse areas to make it look like there just are more brow hairs there, and then I'm going to swipe it up to define the shape up here a little bit more. This guy's, I think, around $20, and it comes with this spoolie, if that's something that you want to use. And then for brow gel, I'm going to use Benefit Creamy Brow. I think a little bit more expensive than the Boy Brow, but I think does a slightly better job of just filling in over here than the boy brow does. Mascara is what we have left. So for mascara, I'm just really stuck on Benefit Roller Lash. The lashes on this side also look a little longer than the lashes on that side, but I don't know if you can notice that. And it is definitely more volumizing on this side than on that side, but again, I don't know what you can really see on camera. Anyway, this guy, travel size, $13. Highly recommend it, but mascara again is personal about like your lash shape, your eye shape, etc., etc. So what works for me might not work for you. Here's a Sephora brand clear gloss that I think does exactly what this gloss does. So there's one option. See how much this costs. Oh look, it's $8. You don't need to pay $14 for this. Truly you don't. In terms of high-end glosses, Fenty Gloss Bomb is pretty good. And then another kind of more sheer pinky lip product that I really love is the Perricone MD lipstick, which is in my bag. I'm gonna get it now. This guy is not cheap, so like this is not really an affordable option. I just really love it because it gives the most kind of like sheer, natural, rosy glow. It's also not a lip gloss, so it doesn't like give you the shine that a lip gloss does. And it's like pretty sheer. I just think that it makes your lips look really plump and really healthy. So there's that. I wanted to show it to you real quick. And then to make the two sides match a little bit better, 401 as a proof of concept. Oh look, they're both shiny. And the Sephora one feels less sticky on my lips, so I think it's a more pleasant user experience. Now you have half of my face with Glossier and you have the other half with non-Glossier products that I think are really good, and you can kind of compare and see which side you think was better. Final thoughts. Final thoughts on the brand as a whole. I think that Glossier is a brand that really knows how to market itself. I think that they really picked up on a certain aesthetic and a certain demographic to appeal to a certain kind of person, and they did a really good job of advertising to that kind of person. Are the products good? No. I don't think that they're very good. And on top of that, I don't think that they're worth the price. These are high-end price products. So if I take out the perfume, I spent about $230. Maybe you can make it $200 since I got a variety of blushes, so let's say you only get one. So this is $200 worth of makeup. And I don't think that this looks like $200 worth of makeup. So in that regard, I don't think that it's worth it. I think it's really overpriced for the way that it performs, and I think even at a drugstore price point, these are not products that I would recommend over a lot of other drugstore products that I think are available, which is why I try to use a lot more drugstore products on this side of my face. And then on top of that, in terms of like the products being easy to use, not really. Like I think that what I did on my face is not hard to do as long as you get brushes. And brushes aren't necessarily expensive. Like you could get a complete brush set for $15 and just have all the brushes that you need to do your makeup. And I think brushes help a lot to create a much better application in terms of dispersion of product, dispersion of pigmentation, things blending out well. So there's that. I don't think that it's particularly easy to use. That might be just something that you have this impression of because you haven't unlocked how easy makeup can actually be. And then I don't think that this took me less time than this did, like maybe off by a couple of minutes because I did my brows and I did bronzer, which I didn't do on this side. But otherwise it's not like these products are super fast to use either. So I don't think that they have that going for them. So my overall impression is that Glossier is just really well marketed. It's expensive, so expensive that it's absolutely not worth it. And it doesn't have any benefits relative to other brands. And then in terms of like the specific products, I think the perfume has a nice scent to it, and if you're okay spending $60 on it and you like the kind of scent that I described, that's fine. And then products that I think are like generally worth it. If you really want to buy something from Glossier, these are the ones that to go for. I think the Wowder is a decent powder and it's decently priced. I think the Lash Lick mascara, if you just want a lengthening mascara, is a decent lengthening mascara and it's decently priced. The Boy Brow's okay. Like, I think that there are better brow gels on the market, but it's a fine brow gel. Like, it did its job. In the second category, I'll put the Stretch Concealer only if you really want a potted concealer and you're okay with more medium coverage, so you don't really have prominent dark under eye circles or anything like that. The Heloscope, again, if you're okay, like if you want this kind of application process and you're okay building up your highlighter, this could be good. Oh, also if you don't have texture on this area, this could be okay for you. But again, I think it's kind of expensive. I think these do apply patchy, but they're not the worst cream blushes that I've tried, and I think cream blushes are easy to get wrong. I also don't think that they're a particularly friendly price point, but again, and then the things that I really think that you should stay away from are the lid stars. One of them has gone missing. Oh, here it is. Okay. The lid star is really expensive, blend to nothing, basically don't exist. Don't waste your money on this. The skin tint changes your skin tone slightly for no clear reason and super expensive. Don't buy this. And the clear lip gloss, like clear lip gloss is great, but you can get one at the drugstore for like $5, so don't buy this. Also, it's really sticky. So that's kind of my review of Glossier. Not super positive. I just think that there's so many better products out there, and it kind of makes me angry that so many people know about Glossier and hype it up so much because they advertise a lot and well. Questions, or if you want me to review anything else, or if you want me to recommend any other products in any other categories, please comment down below, or if you know me, DM me. I'm so happy to help. This is definitely a passion for me. So I would like to talk to you about it. For now, I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you make good decisions in terms of makeup purchasing moving forward, decisions that help make you happy, and I see you next time. Bye. Oh, something else that I should mention, and if you stay till the end, then you deserve to know this. After the first time that I tried these products on, I immediately emailed Glossier saying that I wanted to return everything because I wasn't really impressed with anything. And they responded within like an hour, and they said that they would not only fully refund me to my original form of payment, which they have by now, but that I should keep the products, and if I don't want to use them, share them with my friends and family. So now I just have all of this stuff, which is excellent customer service. I'll give them that, and I can see how it benefits them if I hold on to them, because it's like it's used makeup, so they would have to throw it away anyway, and they would have to deal with like some administration involved with like receiving it and like verifying that it's all there. And now I might share it with someone and they might like it, and then they might buy more from Glossier, so it's kind of almost like free advertising. So anyway, when at the time that you see this video, you want one of these products that I just talk shit about, message me. And if you're a person that I see ever, I'll give it to you. So, for free. Okay. Goodbye.